Very good evening to everybody. Welcome to this performance. This is Christopher Duigan coming to you on Wednesday in our Piano Hour session. This is our live stream number 111, and apparently, unbeknownst to me, someone's added a notice that it's 111 not out, which apparently is the good luck point. So we're still here. Thank you for joining us. We're hoping you can stay with us for the next hour in our Piano Hour session. I was going to be playing a program called Points of Departure, which I was investigating new pieces of music that related to pieces of music that I play very often. But I've decided to postpone that for a week and swap the two around, so I'll be playing the World Cafe program tonight. This evening we'll be staying with the World Cafe program, and I'll keep that on because it's a really interesting program and some very complicated music for me and a lot of new music, and I'd really not want to make a hash. So this evening's program, World Cafe, and I've got a very sunny, it's been a blisteringly hot day here, and it seems like seasons are changing everywhere, and so I thought an optimistic, sunny, very outgoing, very outdoor atmosphere in this evening's program would be suitable. We've had a few changes. You might notice a little bit difference in the lighting and the setup. We had Johan from Max K Productions locally who came in, spent a couple of hours with us, which we're very grateful. Thank you, Johan, for helping us and advising us, changing some camera settings, some flickering is gone, some just adapting and adjusting things so the lighting is perhaps more natural. I'm not looking so washed out all the time. And also changing some of the setup of the stream. So if you are watching this, and you, especially if you're watching on a big screen TV or a smart TV, let us know if you're seeing anything different, if you're noticing any different, or if your download speeds are changing. Very interested to know how you are experiencing this at home. We've got great sound, we've got great audio, and we're going to have a great program. I just want to mention two things. First of all, we have a new pay system set up for those of you who are wanting to donate monthly. This is obviously a year later. We're not in a temporary situation anymore. Seems to be an ongoing thing, and I know for many people the idea of having to remember or having to bother about making a donation every month, or whether they have or haven't, can be quite cumbersome. So in fact, I have a new system set up at my website at the donate page. I'm just going to say always go to the donate page. All the links are there, but a setup by a PayFast where you can enter credit card details and you'll be charged a monthly amount, and there's a 250, a 500 or 400 and an 800 Rand option. So if you would like to pay those monthly until you decide to stop, obviously, please go and sign up, and it'll all be taken care of every month quite automatically with a very secure PayFast system, which is locally based in South Africa. It helps for many of the people who are watching here. And the other thing which is interesting, I happened to, the other night quite late, be looking for something to watch on TV, and I thought, well, actually let me watch my own stream. I came across YouTube and I started watching it on the big screen, which I've never really done before, and I came across, well, I discovered two things. One, that the sound is great. Two, that I like to talk a lot, a great deal. I seem to do a lot of talking, especially at the beginning, but I'm going to get over that now. And second thing is that I often end up talking about pieces of music, and I say, you're going to hear this and then hear that, and I'm sitting right next to the piano and I never actually point them out. So this evening I'm going to make a point of pointing all the things out that I'm talking about and giving you an example at the piano of what you're actually going to be listening to. So I'm going to start off with Scott Joplin's Pineapple Rag. Barry's going to show you an image of Pineapple, the front cover. Always amazing that these Scott Joplin images and the ragtimes of the period were always decorated with the most artistic and creative covers. A lovely cover for Pineapple Rag coming up. And in this piece of music, you hear the standard, I've got to go the other way, sorry. The standard left-hand pattern, like a march pattern. And the right hand carries the melodies like. And if we had to unragtime this, of course the ragtime gets its name from the ragged rhythm, we would have. which would sound like a very nice, genteel march, a very straightforward European-style march. But in fact, the ragged rhythm, it plays all those accents off the beat. So instead of ragtime, and this dislocation of the left and the right hand is very typical. The right hand always getting to the beat slightly before the left hand. The syncopation coming from the amalgamation of rhythms, African rhythms, the interaction between this the music of the African American slaves and the European music styles that they followed. The second piece of music by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, very optimistic and sunny first movement from the sonata in F, K332, starting off with a beautiful lyrical line. What I see is a little trumpet call, a little royal. This piece of music has so many different textures and styles, from this lyricism to what we might call an orchestral style, where a fuller range of the keyboard is used, sort of a bigger sound, a more broader sound, and then a very much more a much more sustained, a very intimate lyrical feel. So there's different contrasts from the intimate and the small, the smooth, to the outlandish, the grand, something sprightly and spiky, and something very lyrical, legato, smooth within the various ideas presented. And the third of three pieces I'm going to start off be for this first session of 3, Granados, the Spanish dance number 5. The Spanish element coming through here, a piece written for piano, but often known in its guitar version, the piano being the original. But the composer Granados imitates the guitar like you strumming, like you twanging a string. And a very unique rhythm, which I think has to do with the Spanish style. Always this emphasis on 1, 2, 3, the ending on the second beat. 1, 2, 3, which is very unusual. It gives you a very unusual rhythmic texture, and that's contrasted in the middle section, which is more elegant and more conventional. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. As opposed to very unusual lurch forward to the second kind of a Spanish flick. So these are 3 pieces for you. Pineapple Rag, Scott Joplin, the African-American composer, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the first movement from the sonata in F, and Granados' Andalusia, the Spanish dance number 5. three very contrasting styles there. I ended off with the Spanish Dance number 5 by Enrique Granados. Before that, the Viennese Sounds of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, the first movement of his sonata in F major case 332, and starting off that section of 3 for this evening's program, I started with The Pineapple Rag by Scott Joplin. If you are just joining us, this evening's program is not the points of departure. This evening's program is a selection of World Cafe music that I was going to be playing next week. But I hope you're enjoying this optimistic outdoor feeling, the atmosphere of abundance and exuberance. And someone else who's abundant and exuberant is little Lucy. And here we go. Hello, little Luce. How abundant and exuberant are you? Everyone loves little Lucy. How are you doing today, Luce? Yes, it's been very hot, especially when you can't take your coat off, when you're carrying a big furry fluffy coat around with you all the time. Yes, it's very difficult, I know. And, oh yes, I need to mention again, yes, for those of you who weren't with us on Saturday night, it's been a very difficult few days for us here. Our Dachshund family of 4 has reduced to 3. Granny Lulu, the very elderly brown Dachshund who's been with us for 17 years, sadly passed away, died early on Friday morning. And 17 years is a very long time for a small dog, and also a very long time to be with us. Like a little shadow, she's been part of our lives for a very, very long time, and you miss her. Yes, I know you do. And yeah, I'm sure Frida, yes, Frida as well. Frida also wants to, yes, Frida. You're also missing Granny Lulu. Yes, because Granny Lulu was your friend. Granny Lulu looked after you. Little Frida Pop. Granny Lulu, yes. Yes, she was a very special friend to you too. It's always very sad when a part of your life that's been with you for 17 years is suddenly no longer there. And it's just those little things when you're expecting her to come around the corner in the morning, looking at you expectantly for her food, or just always following you whenever you sit down. That someone is there. Of course, we have got 3. Here we go, and here's Wendy. So we're going to have the whole. Oh gosh, you all need to have an appearance this evening. Here's little Wendy Pop. Yeah, Wendy Pop. You also, yes, you're missing Grace. You've been looking for Granny Lulu. You've been wondering where little Granny Lulu is. Granny Lulu's not with us now. Thank you to everyone who's been sending messages and emails of condolences. It's really been very much appreciated. To also discover and to find out how, in fact, everyone out there who's watching feels that, in fact, they're part of the family. They've become to know everyone in the family and expect their presence. And, of course, Granny Lulu's presence will be missed greatly. I'm going to go on to very positive, exuberant outdoor music by Edvard Grieg, Piazzolla, and American New Age composer, New Age, you might call it, Suzanne Ciani. I'm going to play for you the Edvard Grieg, The Wedding Day at Trollhaugen. This piece of music Grieg composed for the 25th anniversary of his marriage to his wife. And interesting, I always laugh about this, when I was reading about this once, I was seeing, it's one of those things that internet translations don't always go too well. And they were talking about the wedding anniversary, but they called it the wedding memorial. Now, I'm not sure. I'm sure in some languages a memorial and an anniversary might be interchangeable, but to call your 25th wedding anniversary a memorial, I'm not quite sure how Grieg or his wife felt about that. Anyway, so he wrote this piece of great exuberance. There's great festivity. There's a picture of, first of all, you saw Grieg and his wife, and there is a picture of Trollhaugen, Grieg's family home. That's not, unfortunately, the exact occasion, probably a much later occasion. You can see Grieg in the middle looking quite elderly there. And this exuberance and excitement of march-like rhythms, very strident, repeated patterns. The music grows into great climactic moments of brilliance. It's really a very exciting, grand piece of music. But the interesting thing I always talk about is the middle section, where it seems as though there's a couple exchanging vowels. And this is how it works, that I can really show you here. There's a melody in the right hand. I've concentrated only on the right-hand melody. I'm going to play the same thing, but concentrate on the left-hand melody and the thumb now. So I'm exaggerating the effect there, but there you can hear how there's a melody that's repeated an octave lower and almost slightly delayed, a 1 bar delay each time. And it's a very graphic, I think, a very realistic sense of two people exchanging vowels. They're saying the same thing in a different tone and a different voice, repeating after each other. And I think it's a really magical, very clever way that Grieg, and very sensitive and beautifully composed way that he creates this moment of wedding vows to his wife and enshrines it in a piece of music, and then surrounds that with this great joyous celebration and exuberance. And at the last moments, there's almost like wedding bells before there's a final grand chord to finish with. The second piece by Astor Piazzolla. This is a composition, Ciao Paris, or Goodbye Paris. Piazzolla, Italian heritage, grows up and born in Argentina and creates this new tango style. This is one of his original dance tangos. That's not Piazzolla, that's Granados. Piazzolla's coming. Piazzolla playing the bandoneon. And in this music, you can hear this very sophisticated European style, Ciao Paris. There's such an intense chordal nature of these beautiful chords. But the thing about this piece, which I had the opportunity to play with a quintet with two violins, bass, accordion or bandoneon, and guitar, in this original transcription, the original orchestration of this piece, which I am going to play my own version, but I'm including this moment, Piazzolla writes this wonderful melody in the bass of the piano. Well, the whole melody is wonderful, but he gives the piano, the bass part of the piano, the melody, which is such an unusual and wonderfully evocative sound, very sensual, very rich tango atmospheres. And the third of the three pieces by the American New Age composer, contemporary pianist Suzanne Ciani, a piece called Tuscany, which is really just going to bring together all the wonderful flowing atmospheres of beautiful open landscapes, sunny scenes, sunny atmospheres, heat, lavender, tomatoes, pasta, all those beautiful Tuscan things that we all dream about, and that on a day like today, certainly in this part of the world, we should be enjoying ourselves. So here we go. This is Grieg, Piazzolla, and Suzanne Ciani. That was a beautiful piece I played for many years by the American composer, pianist Suzanne Ciani, called Tuscany. And before that, I played a little tango, Ciao Paris, Goodbye Paris, by the Argentine of Italian origin composer Astor Piazzolla. And starting off that selection of three Grieg's very famous Norwegian dance. I was talking about fragrances and the beautiful flavors of Tuscany. And one of the things about doing live streams at this hour is I know many of you are cooking, and I hope you're dancing the tango to the tango music while you have a glass of wine and around the kitchen and cooking and enjoying your meals, preparing, is that this is actually meal preparation time for me too, usually. And I've got into the habit sometimes just to get in advance, which I have done today, to get something in the oven. So as I'm sitting here playing, I can smell these beautiful aromas of garlic and bay leaves and delicious fragrances coming through from the kitchen. It's quite tempting. Are you also smelling it? Yes, Lucy, but you've already had your dinner, but maybe there's a little extra for you. You know that if there's a roasted chicken, there might just be a little extra snitch for you there too. Yes, Lucy. Okay, so I am going to move on to three pieces of music, which will probably bring this evening's program to an end. I'm going to start off with, I think they're actually very short, so I might be mistaken. I'm just watching the time. I'm going to start off with a beautiful piece by J.S. Bach, the opening prelude from his Partita number 1. Bach's music is often seen as very sort of dense and very heavy because of all the notes and because of many, many notes, especially for composing the harpsichord, which he would have written for, and with lots of ornamentation. Ornamentation being these fast little trills which give the notes weight. But in fact, playing Bach on the piano is such a joy because the piano can do so many things that beyond what extra that the harpsichord could do, you might say that, in the best way. And there's such great melody and line. And even though this music, when I'm playing it very mechanically, and very straightforward, but the art, or I think the style, the real essence of trying to make music out of this, trying to really get to the essence, is to create these lines and to create various textures within it. Left-hand patterns and the inner voices, and it's just Bach is such amazing music. I've got some very lovely Bach lined up for next week's program. A couple of people have said, you don't play much Bach, we'd like to hear more. So this is the first movement from the Partita number 1. Straight after that, a piece of music that has this outdoor atmosphere and change of season. I had to play the Rustle of Spring, Christian Sinding, and Barry's going to show you a piece of music for Christian Sinding, the great Norwegian composer, seen as the successor to Edvard Grieg. And this piece of music, I've always said, it's written so well because it really falls under the hands. All those notes, even though they are a lot of notes going on, they fall very comfortably under the fingers. One hand position, change to the next, one step at a time, as opposed to something like Liszt, where you're constantly swapping over hand positions or doing crazy jumps, or Chopin's hand positions are always very extended and you're always moving about the keyboard, whereas this Rustle of Spring really just sits so beautifully. It's really written so naturally under the piano, under the hands at least, as the hands fall on the keyboard. What's my luck, of course, having said that, I'm probably going to play it for you now and make a complete hash and play every single wrong note. But anyway, the Rustle of Spring, great excitement and this exuberance. And the third piece for you this evening in this World Cafe program, one of my own pieces, I was reminded by Facebook about things that happened a year ago, and it brought up one of the compositions that I created for the Days of Solitude, and I think one of the better ones, day number 17, which has a very distilled, very quiet atmosphere with a repeated note. It was an idea to try and sustain the music with one repeated note, and this beautiful melody, almost like a chorale or a hymn surrounding it in a very distilled, very calm and fragile, delicate way. And Lucy is not going to bark during that. So here we go. Bach, Christian Sinding's Rustle of Spring, and one of my own pieces from the Days of Solitude. Last piece, day 17 from my series of improvisations from last year, Days of Solitude. Very delicate piece. I'm quite fond of that, actually. I quite like that one. And before that, I played the Rustle of Spring. I saw it listed the other day as the Rustles of Spring. But the Rustle of Spring by Christian Sinding, and starting off that section with the beautiful piece of music from J.S. Bach. The partita is partita number 1. I'm going to end off the program with one last piece of music. I had something extra planned, but I'm going to keep it for next week. And I'm going to end off with an Ernesto Nazareth tango called Fanfan. And I've talked about this many times, about how this piece of music imitates, written in 1923, I think, imitates the first car hooters or the car horns. So you have in your left hand this very Brazilian samba tango rhythm, and the whole way through in your right hand like car horns themselves hooting. And here you can see on the screen in the music there's a picture of a grand man being driven around town in a very large automobile, and a child scurrying out the way as he's about to be driven down flat in the road. Car tooting out the way, here I come. And in the middle sections, there are two contrasting sections. Very clear car horn there, and then this rumbling, this amazing speed of rumbling. As the journey of the car ventures up and down the keyboards from the bottom notes right up to the top, and then comes back to this incredibly off-centered rhythm. It's very difficult to play because you feel like your center of gravity, the foot, your weight is never on the ground. It's always somehow up in the air. There's so many offbeats, there are very few downbeats coinciding with what you're actually playing. So it's a very exciting, fun little piece to end this evening's program with, Fanfan by Ernesto Nazareth, a great Brazilian tango composer. Ernesto Nazareth's Fanfan, the Brazilian tango composer, very energetic, vibrant piece of car hooters, brings a close to this evening's piano hour of World Cafe Music. Do join me next Wednesday when that very exciting program Points of Departure I will be presenting with some very interesting music linked in some way to music that I do often play, some new pieces and a few surprises as well. And on Saturday I'll be playing a very intriguing program, always intriguing I think, in concert. A selection of music by Chopin, but this time I'm going to be talking just a little bit and also trying to demonstrate by some of the pieces I play and excerpts from other compositions by Bach and Mozart what Chopin's influences really are and why Chopin's music is so important, why it's so easy to listen to, why it has such incredible universal appeal, and why it is so profoundly magnificent. I think actually often things like Chopin's music, which is so easy to hear, not easy to play, but it's so incredibly simple and pure, we often think that actually it's lightweight, and it's actually not. Just because it comes off easily does not mean that it's lightweight, and there's such an incredible humanity and depth in this music that I'd like to bring to you. And Lucy is going to join me. Lucy, are you going to come on Saturday? You want to come on a front row seat? Do you think that would you like me to play the minute waltz so that you can chase your tail? Because that's what Chopin, that's what he wrote. You remember that one? I did tell you. Yes, I've told you many times that the minute waltz Chopin wrote after the dog chasing its tail. There, that's you. Do you chase your tail? No, they taught you not to in Switzerland finishing school. No tail chasing in Switzerland. No. You're such a little sweet. Look at that little sweet expression. Anyway, thank you for joining us this evening. It's 7:10. Thanks to Barry at the controls. Big changes coming up. Barry is going away for 6 weeks. And we wish him well on his trip. He's going to be going to the deserts, Kalahari, Namib, to do some research photography and also do his own video shoots of his own programs, which will be linked to the re-release of his award-winning and record-breaking book, The Living Deserts of Southern Africa, which will be re-released in September this year. And he's going to be working on a series of videos linked to that. So thank you, Barry, for your support over the last couple of months, and good luck with your next trip. We look forward to seeing you when you get back. And have a good time. But I will be here, and I will be either managing some of the streams of my own, which is quite possible, and also I have help. We'll be having help with some other technical assistance. So we'll introduce them to you then. Thank you for coming along tonight. See you on Saturday and next week Wednesday. Stay well, look after yourselves, have fun. I hope you're enjoying good music, good food, and good wine. And I'm going to play you out with one of our little improvised motions once again. Have a good evening.